Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Voice of Apple Valley podcast. I'm your host, Steve Famiano. Great to be here with you today, kicking off our debut show for the Voice of Apple Valley podcast. And I'm excited to be here to have this opportunity to bring this show to everyone here in Apple Valley, California. Our show is going to be dedicated to everything and anything Apple Valley, California. That includes town politics, maybe some local events that are happening around town, nonprofit organizations and things they have going on. Also talking high school sports, youth sports, anything and everything you can think of that revolves around our town is what we're going to discuss here on the Voice of Apple Valley podcast. Also, too, we might throw in some, issues that surround Apple Valley, maybe that happen outside of the town, including things going on with the county, maybe at our state level, because a lot of decisions are made, too, when it comes to state and county governments that affect our town. And I think that's important for us to have that discussion, too. And every now and then we might have some discussion of Victorville, Hesperia, and maybe some of the surrounding areas. But for the most part, this podcast is going to be dedicated to Apple Valley, California, and all of us who are the residents of Apple Valley, California. Now, sometimes this discussion will be fun. It'll be joyous. We'll be talking about all kinds of really cool and great things. And then sometimes we'll have discussions that are sometimes hard to have. But I think those discussions are extremely important because, especially when it comes to town politics, I think sometimes we, have an issue maybe not having things discussed properly or having issues resolved when it comes to our town politics. And anytime you talk politics, it can get real tricky, right? It can get real iffy on how people perceive it and take it. The goal here is to help educate the public on things that are going on from the political realm. So when we do have political discussion, it's going to be to try and educate the public on what's happening with our town, why things are happening with our town, the decisions that are being made by town council and town staff, and why those decisions are made. And when a major issue arises, this will be a great place for us to have that community discussion on, one, what the issues are, and two, how do we resolve those issues so that we can move on and not continue to talk about them over and over again. And so today we're going to talk about a hot topic, which is our local Apple Valley Animal Shelter. Now, over the past couple of years, there have been some concerns raised about the management of the shelter, some of the procedures with the shelter. I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to hold the town council 100% responsible for everything that goes on, because there are a lot of things that maybe you don't know that happen as far as how, animal surrenders. There's a lot of different factors and different things going on here. Ultimately, they're responsible for the management of the shelter. So whatever comes into the shelter, that's their responsibility. So when there's a concern raised with the shelter, it's their responsibility to handle that concern and hopefully resolve that for whoever has that concern. And there's been a lot of concerns over the past couple of years. And so today's show is going to be solely focused on the Apple Valley Animal Shelter and some of those issues. And my guest today has been deeply involved with this issue. And she's an animal advocate. She rescues animals. She's very knowledgeable on this. She's one of the leading voices. She's been to town council meetings. She's also been to the County Board of Supervisors to discuss this issue. And I want to bring her on to give us some more details on exactly what some of the issues are with the animal shelter and how we can possibly come to some resolution to alleviate those problems moving forward for the animals. So I'd like to welcome now to the Voice of Apple Valley podcast, Veronica Golub. Veronica, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Hi, Steve. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me on.
I'm glad to have you here, Veronica. And it was funny. I found you on social media because I was doing some research on the animal shelter, and I just happened to catch you on a clip on Instagram, and I think it was the clip where you were at the County Board of Supervisors, and that's how I kind of tracked you down. I've heard some things about the animal shelter. I've seen, I think it was last year, I saw some video clips of some of the shelter conditions and things like that. But you and I had a conversation off, on the phone about a week ago about this. And I think it's very important for you to explain to the residents of Apple Valley What has exactly been happening there? Um, you know, I know there's a lot of issues, but let's pick on the big issues. The main issues that we need to have resolved. So before we do that,
Mhm.
just so everybody knows exactly who you are, why you're doing this, and what you do. Just give us a quick bio on where you live, what you do, and maybe
Okay.
some personal information.
Okay. So my name is Veronica. I'm an animal rights activist, volunteer animal rights activist. I don't do that full time, although it feels like I actually do that full time on a daily basis, 24/7, anytime I'm awake. And so what happened was and I live in San Diego. Um, and I was on social media about 2 years ago. It was December of 2022. And one of my friends ended up sharing something from Apple Valley from the volunteer networking page. And it was basically some dogs that were youth listed. And so I kind of kept track of it, and I realized that those dogs were actually, put down. They were killed. And it was from the networking page that, was reporting this information. And so I kind of started digging in a little bit more about it, because I thought California was a no-kill state. And once I started doing more research, I realized that that is absolutely not the case. San Diego County is a no-kill county,
Hmm.
but that's not the case with San Bernardino County. And apparently there's a lot of kill shelters up there. So anyway, and I started kind of looking into it, and I found out that Apple Valley had been lacking transparency and communication, and these volunteer networkers were just basically figuring out these youth lists on their own, just by watching the actual site of Apple Valley. So they would watch the links of all the animals, all the dogs. The cat networking group started a little bit later, actually last year. um, and so they were they were basically watching these links drop, and that's how they would come up with these youth lists. Now, once the links came down, Apple Valley just actually wouldn't give any information out at all. And I know that for a fact, because I called. There was this one German Shepherd that I wanted to save, and I called over there and I said, hey, I gave them the ID number, and I said, can I get some information on this dog? And they said, well, they're no longer listed. You're going to have to wait until the disposition report comes out. And I'm like, what do you mean? Well, has this dog been killed? Has this dog been rescued? Has this dog been adopted? Can't you just tell me? And they said, no, we can't give you any information. And I said, well, that's just, not right. Now, what you do is when you click on Apple Valley shelter like site, and you click on the animal, and there's just a little quip that comes up, and it says, oh, it looks like this animal might have been adopted. So it kind of is telling people that it might have been adopted, but it doesn't say anything that it might have been rescued or it might have been killed. And so
So
people think,
let
yeah,
me ask you this. So going back to you getting involved in this, is that the incident basically, or the trigger that got you involved when you made the call and something just clicked in you and you went, well, wait a minute, that's not how other shelters operate. Is that
yeah,
kind of the trigger point for you that got you involved in this?
yeah, exactly. So basically I just thought, well, this is just not right. And I started talking to more people. I started talking more networkers, or started talking to rescues. And they were telling me that this particular shelter was lacking transparency. And these animals were just being killed without anyone knowing anything about them, except for this one networking page that was letting people know, but it's just not enough. And so I decided to organize. The first protest was January 24th, 2023. And then I started speaking at the town council meetings, and that was the first meeting we spoke at. And there was a group of us, and it was just random people. I just kind of put this together, put this event page together. It was just random people from all over just showed up. And, they all, everyone brought their own poster or whatever. Nobody knew each other. And then just more people started showing up, and different people, as we kept going to these town council meetings, as we kept organizing these protests. So it wasn't like I put together some group, and we all collaborated and went there. It was just random people just showed up. And while I was there were some, locals that showed up, and, a few people were just crying. Sorry, it gets me all emotional.
No,
um
that's
just, just to let me know that, they've been waiting for somebody to show up and do something. um
Hey, we
and
love our animals. Let me tell you, we love. Look, I'm a dog guy. I love my animals, right? So I can understand your emotion, and I can totally feel your emotion. So don't
right,
be afraid to be emotional about it, right? We got to express our feelings, and especially when
right,
it comes to our government, whether it's our local town governments, or county, or state, or whatever. So your emotion is totally 100% acceptable. Let me dial this in just a little bit so people
mhm.
can kind of get the context of why it is you and others feel that this is an issue. So let's say issue number one. What is the biggest concern that needs to be resolved with the Apple Valley Animal Shelter? What is it? The kill rate? What is it? Adoption issues, rescue? What's the number one main issue?
Well, definitely the kill rate. So Apple Valley has the highest kill rate, definitely in Southern California, but it's possible in California. I just don't have the numbers for a lot of the other shelters. Unfortunately, California law does not require all shelters to publish this information. It just happens that Apple Valley publishes this information. Riverside is the highest kill shelter in the country, but it's mainly because they have a lot more volume. And they have like 5 different campuses, and so they just have a lot more volume coming in. Um, but in terms of actually the killing percentage, Apple Valley is the highest. When we started, I mean, the cats were being killed at 85%. So 85% of the cats that were coming in were getting killed. About 60% of the dogs were getting killed. Um, so together, the ratios kind of came down a little bit since we've been doing it, but it's still basically a 40% live release rate. So that's
So
when
is
you,
that an issue? Just because I'm trying to understand this issue is the best that I can, so that we can come to some resolution here, right? So when you say kill rate, that's basically the animal hasn't been adopted, or
right,
has the animal had a chance to be adopted, right? There's some scenarios that go on there, right? So
right.
is it a volume issue like Riverside? Can Apple Valley handle the volume of animals they're getting? What is it that's causing that high kill rate?
It's the volume.
Okay.
So basically, Apple Valley has a contract with San Bernardino County. It's so the some of the unincorporated areas of San Bernardino County are coming to the Apple Valley shelter. And Apple Valley has had a contract with them for um 13, 12 years or 13 years. They just renewed the contract. They had a 10-year contract. They renewed in 2023, and then they renewed another year in 2024 with some amendments. So basically, they have a lot of this volume coming in. About 40, about 50% of the animals that are coming in are getting killed, and that includes, um, the DOA, the dead on arrival. So there's like, they have like different, they
Like a
break
dog
down
that
the
gets
disposition
a
report.
dog that gets, maybe a dog or an animal that maybe gets hit by a car or something, and they find him on the side of the
Right,
road. That's
right,
kinda
exactly. So basically, And so those are coming in as well. But what I'm saying is the live release rate is actually only 40%. So 60% of the animals that are coming in are getting killed. Now, if they didn't have the contract with San Bernardino County, all those animals would have more time. However, San Bernardino County pays Apple Valley close to 1.2 million a year. And so at the same time, while they're paying Apple Valley 1.2 million a year, Apple Valley has a contract with Styles Animal Removal that is a fixed rate, monthly rate, and it doesn't matter how many animals are getting killed. It could be one, it could be 400. They will still pay the same amount. So it's basically what they're doing is they're running the shelter like a business. So they have the money coming in from San Bernardino County of 1.2 million, and then they do, for the most part, they do the bare minimum to try and get the animals out, and then the rest are just getting killed and they're getting hauled away by Styles Animal Removal. So it's actually sort of like a money making scheme.
So I've done a little bit of research on this, and this relates to the kill rate here that we're talking about. I read something that said that what the Apple Valley Animal Shelter has been doing is they put an animal, or just say a dog, they put a dog up for adoption. Like today, they put the dog up for adoption today. But at the same time they put the dog up for adoption, they're putting the animal on the kill list that day. Is that accurate? Oh, we lost Veronica off the video feed. I'm gonna try and get her back on here in a second. Let me see if we can get her to come back in. And that was a great question that I asked too. She's sending me a message, and we're trying to get her reconnected. Technology is wonderful, isn't it? But I did read that the town, what they do when they put a dog up for adoption is they put the dog up for adoption, but at the same day, they're putting it on the list to be euthanized. So it's very interesting to me that that would be happening with our town. And I'm hoping we can get Veronica back on here on the video here to answer that question. Um, there's a lot of things that we don't know in regards to how our town operates, right? I mean, you're hearing some of this stuff already. I mean, I don't know how many people realize that the county of San Bernardino is in contract with the town of Apple Valley to provide animal services for the unincorporated areas of the high desert. So the county animals that would be in the unincorporated areas come into the Apple Valley Animal Shelter. And that was another question I was going to ask Veronica. What does that do with the capacity of the shelter? Let me get a hold of her real quick again. She might have lost internet service. I'm hoping we can get her back on here real quick. Okay. I think Veronica's coming back on here.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, technology is wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you know what had happened too? Right when I asked you a really good question, because I wanted to hear the answer to this. So the day an animal is placed for adoption, it's like a dog.
Right.
The animal shelter here in Apple Valley will put that dog on a list to be euthanized the same day it's up for adoption. Is that correct?
No.
Okay.
No. So there's a minimum number of days that the animal is supposed to be at the shelter by law,
Okay.
by Hayden's law. And so and it depends on whether it's an owner surrender or whether it's a stray animal, whether it has a microchip, or whether it was it's part of some sort of investigation. So there's a certain specific number of days. And what they do is they put the animal up for adoption first. And the day after they put them up for adoption is the day they're available for euthanasia or rescue. And so they can kill that day after adoption. Most of the time they do not. Most of the time they have a couple more days, but the majority of them are getting killed between 10 to 14 days. Um, so it's not really enough time for animals to be seen because they're only open 5 days a week. Um,
Okay.
they're only open on one weekend day. Their hours are from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And so a lot of people work during those days. And so the one weekend day that they are open, a lot of times they close that day for whatever holidays there are. Anytime a holiday falls on a Monday, they'll close that Saturday.
So I think what I hear you saying is the town maybe should try and put some more effort into advertising that
Yeah,
these animals are there, right? Like let's let the public know. Uh, Look, I tried to look on their Facebook page and different places. I didn't see a lot of animals being pushed for adoption, for the public to see. I didn't see it myself.
hmm,
Um, but so I think that's a resolution that we can have, right? Let's put more effort into the advertising of the adoptions that are there to be available to give these animals a greater chance of maybe being. Look, if you don't know something's there, you don't know to
right,
go get it, right? So I think that's important that we do that, and
right.
give
I
these
mean,
animals a chance.
yeah, they so basically Apple Valley has two Facebook pages. I don't use Instagram very much. I just follow their Facebook pages. So one is the rescue page, and one is the standard Apple Valley shelter page. The shelter page has 14,000 followers. The rescue page has 5,000 followers. Um, so, but what they do is they put the animals. They have like a like they group the animals, like this is what's available, right?
Yeah, they
Sometimes
put up
they'll
the
they'll
group
post
pictures.
videos, right? Sometimes they'll post videos, and it's not all of them, and I understand that they're short staffed, they don't always have time to get the videos, but what would really help is if they actually post the urgent list that they have now. This is very recent. They never used to have an urgent list, so finally, asking for it and them working with the divorce staff. I think they're kind of doing some of the things that DeVore is doing. So now they have an urgent list that they put on their site, but that's on their website, and a lot of people are not going to go look there. I don't know if they're sending it to their rescue partners. They should be sending it to their rescue partners as soon as they have an urgent list to let them know. So I don't know if that's being done. But that urgent list should be posted on their social media pages so that people know that these are the dogs that are most likely to be killed. And so, and especially like in their doorway, in the in the foyer, when people come in, everyone that comes in should see that these are the most urgent dogs and cats, and these are the animals that are going to be killed if they don't get adopted or rescued. I think
So
that
is that real quick though? Is that when you say there's a staffing issue? Is that part of the problem here? Is it just there's not enough staff to be able to do the adoption process or publicize the adoption process? I would think that would be one of the most critical jobs that an animal shelter could have would be to get the animals adopted, right? Am I wrong in that? Or
right,
isn't that priority number one to get the animals out of the shelter to a nice home?
you would definitely think that they actually we're supposed to hire a person that is supposed to be in charge of the social media and posting and getting the animals out there. I don't know if that person is still there. I know, the rescue coordinators and some of the other people. I think that what they do is they spend more time um, following rescues and seeing what they post and paying attention to other things on social media rather than actually focusing on the animals that they have and making sure that they get out.
So
I
that's one of
know,
the things that's one of the things that we definitely need to work on with the town. Like, look, if they need more help, I'm on social media all the time. I'm doing this podcast here, right? Like, I have no problem being on social media. Like, if they need
right.
help developing some type of program to, help their adoption process with the public and communicating with the public, then let's make that happen. I mean, that to me seems like an easy resolution. I mean, unless I'm missing something here, but that to me just seems like there's many of us that love animals and love dogs and cats and everything else that
Right.
would have no problem spending a few hours putting together pictures of the animals or whatever it takes, right? But see, I wouldn't even know that information. How would anybody in the town know that they need help doing that because they don't communicate it, right?
They don't. They do have a major communication problem, and it also stems from the fact that they have a problem with being transparent. A lot of the people in town don't understand or don't know that this is a very high kill shelter, like, you know, the highest pretty much in that area in the high desert, in terms of not necessarily, like I said, Riverside has the highest volume, but they have the highest percentage of the kill
Well,
rate.
and one way we stop that, right?
Right.
One way we stop that is we adopt the animals out and we make sure that the rescues that come to rescue these animals don't have a lot of hurdles in front of them to be able to rescue the animals, right? So we have the general public that can adopt animals, and we have the rescues that can come and get the animals. We're trying to alleviate this problem. And, how do you know? And that's why I'm glad we're doing this show, because,
Right.
maybe we can get some of this info out to people around town that this is actually happening. The more people that know, the more we can get people involved and help them out. One of the concerns that I have, though, is that I was reading through some of the requirements in the county contract that you were talking about earlier,
Hmm.
and it says in there that basically with the money the county's giving Apple Valley for the animal shelter, is that that would help with staffing. Does
Hmm.
the county provide actual county employees to help staff Apple Valley Animal Shelter, or is it all volunteer?
No, I mean, they don't provide staff to work at Apple Valley Shelter. The most recent contract that they signed in July of 2024 had an amendment, and the amendment said that the county was actually going to hire somebody that was going to help kind of provide some support for Apple Valley. And I think that's been happening. I think they've been talking, they've been, meeting or whatever. They're supposed to, have discussions on a regular basis, just to kind of help move things along. But one of the major things is like, so the county is a divorce shelter. So divorce shelter does things differently. They work very well with the networkers. I'm on their daily emails. The networkers will send an email asking about the new arrivals, and the rescue coordinators will give them information on the new arrivals. They will also tell them that these animals are on the urgent list, and throughout the day the networkers check with the rescue coordinators. They're very quick to respond because they realize that lives are at stake. That's really not happening at Apple Valley. So the networkers have a very, very hard time, you know, getting through in terms of like getting responses for the emails when they call. Um, and mind you, I just want to say, when I first started this, like, you couldn't get any information out of the people at Apple Valley. So now they're actually providing this information, which is fantastic. But they need to have a better communication with the networkers. I think there's animosity between the two groups.
Is there some animosity because of the fact that this was brought to the town council and the
Yeah,
county, and so now they're a little, upset that maybe you and others,
yeah.
were trying to, like, I don't necessarily think, I don't know if I don't believe, let me put it to you that way. I
Hmm.
don't believe you guys were doing this and bringing this to the town council and the county because you wanted to get anybody on staff fired or in trouble, or what good would that do, right? I think the issues you're raising are pretty valid, because why is our shelter operating differently than another shelter? So if another shelter like Devore has some successful policies, why couldn't we look at that shelter with
Right.
the help of the county, since the county is providing money to the town? Why couldn't we
Absolutely.
sit with the county and say, hey, the county divorce shelter are doing these things very well. We're not doing these in Apple Valley. Why can't we
Right.
make that happen? To me, that these are easy solutions, if you ask
Yeah.
me. And I don't know what the apprehension is of trying to get these things accomplished. I'm not that part I haven't figured out with from our town management yet. So what do you think it is? What from the town council down? What's the issue with trying to implement some better policies?
I honestly think it's because they don't want the town people to know that they're killing animals. I There are so many people out there that are defending the shelter and defending, the things that they do, not knowing how many animals they actually kill. They do publish their disposition reports, but a lot of people are not going to go in the disposition reports and go through all the numbers. I happen to have every disposition report for the past 2 years, and and actually 3 years. So 2022, 2023, and 2024. Between all those 3 years, they killed about 10,000 animals. That's a ridiculous amount.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, the numbers have declined in terms of the amount killed. In 2022, they killed like over 3,900. In 2023, they killed over 3,600. Um, I'm still waiting for the numbers to be adjusted for 2024, um, because they still need to go back and it's kind of a long story. I won't even go into the disposition reports, but so it's probably close to 2,500 and or more actually, in 2024. And so it's not necessarily that they're killing less; they're actually getting less volume in than they were getting.
Well, that's a good thing though, right? I mean, we want less. We want less volume to be coming through our local animal shelters. Isn't that a good thing, or not?
It's a good thing to have less volume, but I think more recently they started, redirecting some of the that volume to go back to divorce. So they're actually getting paid more money than they were previously, getting less volume, but killing the same exact percentage, which
Okay, right. I gotcha.
to me doesn't make sense. So it looks like you're killing less, but you're killing the same percentage. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
and the thing is, my impression of an animal shelter, and I think most people, when you think of animal shelter, you think of a place for animals to go and have shelter. It's called shelter, right? If humans
right,
have shelter, it's a comfortable place. That's pretty much what it is, right? So you want the animals to be as comfortable as possible, but an animal shelter, just in general, is a place to shelter these animals until they're adopted. I don't think we look at animal shelters as a place to just bring animals and ultimately ship them off to have them euthanized, right? That's not the impression I have of an animal shelter. Now I understand, I completely respect and understand that volume can be a problem, right? I mean, if and I know there seems to be a statewide issue, and actually probably across the country we have an
right,
issue with a lot of people giving up their animals or whatever it is that's
absolutely,
causing this volume. But since we know we have the volume, that's where I'm at in this. If we know we have the volume, what are we doing to facilitate getting these animals adopted or rescued the best that we can, without just taking this attitude of, well, bring them in, let them sit there for a few days, load them up in the van, and take them to be euthanized, right? I
no,
mean,
they
to me,
actually euthanize them right there on the premises. They don't take them anywhere.
oh,
the,
I
the
didn't.
staff
Okay,
the staff euthanizes the
okay.
animals.
I did not know that. See, that's why we're doing this. We want to learn what's going on with our
Yeah,
animals.
it's
So,
yeah, the staff euthanizes on the premises. They have barrels that they dump the bodies and they keep that in their freezer. And so when Styles comes to pick up the barrels, they haul away the barrels. So
so
and
I think we figured out one of the issues is getting the animals adopted, right? And putting more effort into that to get these animals out of there before they are euthanized. And I think that's something we can definitely keep discussing down the road. As far as the shelter itself relating to the town council and you guys going, you personally and other people going, I know in December of last year at the last council meeting last year, I looked up the agenda from it. There were 82 letters written to the town council about the animal shelter. So this is on the radar of a lot of people here in
Right.
town. So that's good. How receptive has the town council and management been to taking some of the ideas that you have and others have and making change at the shelter? I mean, are we seeing progress?
I've seen some progress, but honestly, there should be a lot more. I mean, first first of all, the rescues, they have rescue partners. I think in the year-end post for the town of Apple Valley, they said that they ended up adopting out, rescuing like 1,700 something animals in 2024.
Wow.
Well, they killed 2,500 or more, but they didn't put that part in there, right? They also said that they increased their the rescue partners. When I started attending the town council meetings, there were about 110 rescue partners. Now there are over 250. They stated in that post. Well, the problem is a good portion of those rescue partners are suspended, and they're not even able to pull from the shelter.
Now
uh,
let me understand what that means. So suspended, the Apple Valley Animal Shelter is suspending them from adopting from our shelter.
from rescuing, yeah.
Why is that? What is the reasoning?
So the reasoning, some have different reasons, but the majority of them are because there are outstanding spay neuter certificates. So a rescue gets in the business of rescuing to try and save the animals, not to multiply the animal population. No rescue says, hey, you know what? I'm going to get some unaltered German Shepherds and I'm going to make more, German Shepherd puppies because we just don't have enough. No rescue gets into rescuing to multiply the animals. Per, state law, every animal that gets adopted or rescued needs to be spayed or neutered, right? Well, in their rescue partner agreement, they sign a document saying that they will get, the animal spayed or neutered, right? Well, Apple Valley goes the extra step and requires these certificates to be submitted to them. They also take a deposit from each rescue. And so the deposit sits there until the rescue provides a spay neuter certificates. When there's a certain amount of certificates, I think it's 30, it could be more, then they suspend the rescue. So they can't rescue anymore. And so, the rescue is just going to go. Obviously, there's shelters all over Southern California that need help. The rescue is just going to go somewhere else, right? And so they're getting more rescue partners, but they're not actually rescuing more animals. It's because they're suspending the other ones, so they're getting new ones, and that's why the numbers are not changing. That's why the percentage is not changing.
So
Just because.
how do other shelters operate with rescues? And this the spay and neuter certificate that you're saying about. So basically, for those that don't understand what we're discussing here, so
Mhm,
when a rescue comes to rescue an animal, they're
mhm.
able to pick that animal up without that certificate, right? Take the animal and have it spayed or neutered, and then prove that they did it, right? That's what we're
Right,
talking.
they send the certificate back. So once the procedure is done, they send the certificate back to Apple Valley, and then they ask for their deposit back. The problem is there's so depending where the animal goes, the animal's in foster, the animal could be sick. It might, take a lot longer to get that animal spayed or neutered. They require spay neuter certificates for mom and puppies, that leave the shelter. So if a pregnant, mom had puppies in the shelter, let's say it's a mom and 9 puppies, they will require 10 spay neuter certificates to be provided to them. So no other shelter does this. Apple Valley is the only shelter that does this. And
Wow.
so by comparison, DeVore has over 800 partners, rescue partners. And the county, doesn't require spay neuter certificates to be provided
Does
back.
does the county require a deposit?
No, no other,
What?
no
This
other
doesn't make any
shelter
sense.
takes a deposit from rescues. So rescues are low on funds for the most part.
Yeah, I could imagine.
And so because it costs a lot of money to rescue one animal. It's like, between transport and food and medical and so forth, each animal that leaves a shelter easily could be $1,000, per. So they're using, the donations or whatever. And so on top of it, they're charging this deposit.
So let me
Where
ask you this deposit, you're saying no other shelter does this. The county shelter doesn't do this. So when a rescue comes to the Apple Valley Animal Shelter, they come in and say, hey, I want these 5 dogs. I'm going to rescue these 5 dogs. The town says, okay, take those 5 dogs, but you're going to leave a deposit for every dog. What is
right.
the purpose of the deposit for Apple Valley Animal Shelter if no other shelter does this? What's the purpose?
Honestly, there is no purpose other than collecting those deposits. And when the rescue gets too busy and doesn't ask for it back and they don't provide their certificates, I don't know where that money goes. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if they have some sort of fund where they put the money or whatnot. In their wire transfers, I have seen them refund deposits, but not at the frequency that they're actually,
But
you
they'll
know,
only refund the deposit if the rescue shows the spay or neuter certificate, right? They'll hold that deposit and basically take that deposit
exactly.
in as income for the town. That's what it is. It
Right.
becomes income for the general fund for the town. That's what it does. But I I got to figure out at some point, maybe not on this episode of the Voice of Apple Valley, but
Right.
why are we the only shelter doing this, right? If the county
Exactly.
has a contract with Apple Valley and the county shelter doesn't do it, then why is Apple Valley doing it? That just doesn't make any sense to me. But that's something we can definitely hopefully get resolved too. So there's another issue we probably need to get resolved, right? Let's
Right.
drop those deposits for the rescues so we can get more animals rescued and get them out of there before they're euthanized. That makes perfect sense to me.
Well,
Um,
reinstate basically all of these rescues that have these outstanding spay neuter deposits. Back in the town council meeting when the town manager presented his plan for Apple Valley, I think it was April 11th, 2023. Um, he stated that they're going to look into just eliminating these spay neuter certificates, and they have not done anything at all about it. They have just pretty much dropped the ball on it.
no,
Um,
that's good. We definitely can and follow up on this and make sure that to me it makes perfect sense to do that. If no other shelter's doing it, there's no
right,
sense in us doing it. I mean,
right,
in Apple Valley, it just perfect perfect sense to me, right? Let's make some easy decisions here, and that to me seems like an easy decision. Follow the lead of the county at this point because it looks like the county shelter seems to be operating somewhat efficiently
right,
and they don't have this many issues. So let's take some of the good things from the county shelter, bring them here to Apple Valley and implement them. Easy,
right.
easy peasy here for that. I know you didn't have much time today and we're almost coming up on 45 minutes here. So I want to wrap up on a few things, but you brought up the town manager. Our town manager is Doug Robertson, and this issue goes back to 2023, maybe even sooner than that. But I went back and I was doing some research and found some old town council footage, and I have a clip of our town manager, Doug Robertson, that I want you to comment on because I thought it was very interesting what he said about this issue and it was almost as if this was just a made up issue. But let me play this clip for you, and I'm going to have you respond afterwards.
Okay.
Are correct, however. Our staff do a very good job with the animals that are in their care. I met with them last week to ensure them that the council and I know what a good job they're doing, regardless of misinformation on social media.
So I want to ask you, and this isn't about the staff comment that he made. I do believe the staff is following direction from the management of the town, and I don't hold the staff necessarily accountable at this point. Maybe there's more that I need to learn about the staff. Until then, I want to keep this on the town manager. His comment of this issue is somewhat a made up issue on social media. What do you say to that?
It's everything that I discussed in the town council meetings came directly from their stats, information that I've pulled, people I've talked to, from rescues, from networkers. So nothing was made up. We have proof of everything. It's just, he kind of, pretty much every time we spoke, he would always deflect to the fact that we support Apple Valley. All of these people are out there to get our staff. And yeah, maybe there are people that are mean spirited and said some nasty things. But honestly, this happens at every shelter. Just about if you're going to work at a shelter, you're going to get comments like you're a murderer or you're slaughtering animals or so forth. I mean, if you're in a kill shelter, that's kind of to be expected, right? Every shelter gets that. They're always like random networking people that will say horrible things. But for the most part, the people that showed up to speak at the town council meetings, they knew what they were talking about. They were speaking from experience. I used all of the stats that were made available by the town themselves. And of course, I had experience as well because I've fostered, I've transported the animals. I also talked to the staff. Um, so nothing was made up except for what he was saying, to be honest.
Yeah, and I could see somewhat what he was trying to do, and that was a video clip from a town council meeting back in 2023, and here we are almost. That was what was that? Early 2023. We're now into early
Yeah,
2025, so that's how long this has been going on for you and others who have brought this to everybody's attention.
right,
As far as the staff and the town, the way I look at it, and maybe a lot of the other rescues that maybe they're making these comments about, you're a killer, you're this, or whatever they refer to these staff members as. I look at it this way: there's, especially when it comes to a town, where they call us a town, but a city, the city has management, and those they have a council and a mayor, a council and management. The management is directing the staff on these policies. So if you have a manager directing the staff, it's this balance of, you could attack the staff all day, but really the focus needs to be on the manager who's actually going to make the decision, right? So
right,
that's where all the energy and effort needs to be focused. We have to get the management of the town to make these decisions so the
right.
staff will follow these policies. And that's why I'm glad we had this conversation. And I definitely want to follow up with you, maybe in a month or so.
Sure.
I think there's more discussion to be had in this, and there's still some outstanding issues that I think could make the Apple Valley Animal Shelter a better shelter. Our town
Absolutely.
slogan is a better way of life.
Right.
You
Not
know,
for
and
the animals, though.
well, but no, but it should be, right? That's my
It should
point.
be. Yeah,
A better way of life for all of us who are here in Apple Valley, whether,
absolutely.
human, animal, whatever it is. Let's do the best to have the best facilities.
Right.
I'm an Apple Valley guy. I want to have the best Apple Valley Animal Shelter that we can have. There's nothing wrong with asking for that. You or anybody else asking
Right.
for that. So
Yeah.
I appreciate it, Veronica. Thanks for coming on, the voice of Apple
You.
Valley, and we are definitely going to follow up. And if anything breaks or you have anything news that happens before then, we can definitely do an update and get more word out to the people here in Apple Valley, California.
Sounds good. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks a lot, Veronica. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take
All
care.
right. Bye-bye. All right. I want to thank Veronica again for joining me here on the Voice of Apple Valley. Great discussion about our local Apple Valley Animal Shelter. I think there's a lot more we could discuss on the Voice of Apple Valley here. We didn't get into the actual sale of the animal shelter, which I understand is being negotiated right now between the town council and the county of San Bernardino. The Apple Valley Town Council is basically trying to wash their hands of the animal shelter and sell it outright to the county of San Bernardino. And if you ask me, that's probably not the right thing to do. I mean, if the town is not capable of running the animal shelter, efficiently and appropriately, and they have to wash their hands of it and give it to the county to run, what does that say about our town management? That's kind of a blight on our town management, to be honest with you. They built that shelter in 2010. It's been part of Apple Valley ever since. And here we are having our town council looking to have the county take it over from them. That tells me that they're probably not wanting to deal with these issues anymore. And they've made a decision that it's just easier to wash their hands of it, which opens up a whole nother discussion that we can definitely have for another day here on the Voice of Apple Valley. If you ever have any show ideas or you'd like to come on with me and discuss anything Apple Valley, California, doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be politics specifically. It can be anything Apple Valley. You got a nonprofit event coming up that you want to promote, youth sports signups, whatever it is, we're here to promote Apple Valley. Good, bad, in between. That's what we're here to do. And we're here to talk and discuss everything about our town. I'm Steve Famiano, your host of the Voice of Apple Valley. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you on the next one.